Welcome to Iron Age Marketing, your weekly dose of inspiration and wisdom, helping coaches, creatives, and business owners alike build authority and generate leads through podcasting. I'm Nikki P, and welcome. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Iron Age Marketing. I am Nikki P here today. My good friend, Stephanie Bloom. Stephanie, how are you doing?
So good. So good. Life is good. How about you?
I'm always doing fantastic. As I said before the episode, in the words of Kanye West, I'm dope and I do dope shit. So let's find a good place to start here. So what are you doing these days business wise? Like what is your hustle?
I've always had several. So the one that's pertinent to this conversation probably is the podcast. But I have a sales role that I fulfill, and I also just wrote a book and do private consulting. So lots of different things.
What industry are you in?
Health and wellness.
Okay, like you're selling snake oil or what are we selling here?
Absolutely. The snake oil of taking extreme responsibility of your inputs so you can get better outputs.
Okay. So what does that look like? Do you like you obviously you say you're working on sales as a sales role. What's that look like?
So that is a 35-hour a week commitment wherein my schedule is populated through a series of automated events that I don't have to do anything other than block off my schedule when I don't want to work for. So I get to work as often as I want.
Did that predate or come along with the podcasting?
They both kind of happened at the same time. So I started my podcast in the October, and then in the following February, I was hired in that sales role. So I had been doing it for a few months when I got my sales role.
Interesting. And do you think that the podcasting helped prepare you for like having that sales role, or you were already there and ready to go for it?
No, 1,000,000%. Because when I first started all of this, looking at myself on the screen weirded me out, but now it's second nature to be on video. So I definitely needed that practice. It definitely helped a lot.
Okay. And the podcast specifically, like what does the podcast look like? Explain what you do there to my guests.
It's an interview format show. So the first 15 minutes, I interview people and I want to know about their childhood. Where did they come from? What was normal? What was their family structure like? Then the next 15 minutes, we talk about a big happening. Sometimes it's trauma related. Sometimes it's a theme in their life or something that wouldn't go away or something that kept coming around. And then the next 15 minutes is how that thing impacted them in a way where they overcame obstacles and challenges. And really, I'm looking for the lessons they learned therein. How did you get through this difficult thing, whatever that difficult thing was? And then the last 15 minutes is for them to share whatever they'd like to share. So if they have their own content or they've produced something of value or they want to connect, it's a great way to connect with people who are looking for those kinds of supports.
Okay. Now, obviously, like there's so many ways I feel like there's so many things I feel like people get out of podcasting. The type of podcast that you do is I find it interesting in this way that it feels like it's not a light podcast. It's not like a jump in. Like if I remember correctly, like when you first started it up, like we believe you're even having like difficulty dealing with the emotional weight of some of the conversations that you were having. And so the idea of like that factoring into like the business of anything feels weird to me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the topic matter can be heavy. But what I found with people who've actually dealt with and resolved or worked through their big stuff, they usually come out the other side with some really good knowledge, some really good wisdom, but also a wicked sense of humor. So oftentimes we're able to reflect on, what we learned or what we grew through or what we came to understand and embody. And that oftentimes is not so heavy and difficult to carry.
Obviously for someone who's, built up this a big part of their life and what they do. Obviously, it's impacted other elements of your work life. Is this like something that you were raised and prepped to do? Yeah, obviously, you say it was weird looking at yourself on camera when you started, but like, were you like trained in radio, television, anything like that? Like, I think at one point you in your history, you were one of your gigs was doing house cleaning or something like that. So it's like you feel like if you've stretched out beyond what the expectations certainly would be for somebody in your position.
Definitely, definitely, but that's all on the path of self-improvement. I've always sought the things that intimidated me, and my life is better for it.
I'm actually kind of curious if you wouldn't mind give a little bit more of your like kind of general background for my audience. They can kind of position why this feels so amazing and interesting to me, like your kind of journey in this world.
Well, I grew up downwind of a nuclear munitions manufacturing plant that didn't dispose of everything properly. And so the area I grew up in was covered in waste that should not have been anywhere near playgrounds and streams and creeks and flower beds, but it was. And so growing up, a lot of the families in the area would be succumbing to illness. And so it was very common for people to lose their parents or lose their siblings or develop this brain tumor. It was scary stuff. And um, as a result of all that, I think there was a lot of suffering, sudden death, and medical issues nobody was really prepared to handle. And if you didn't have your affairs in order, then it left your family destitute, and all that kind of stuff culminated in me having lost nearly 3 dozen people in my life to suicide. And so that's some pretty big traumas to deal with early on. So was I equipped for it? Yes. Was that hard won? Yes. Did I want it? Absolutely not.
All right. Now, you have a book coming out. Uh, what inspired you to write a book, or was just kind of, hey, I have all these hours and hours of me talking to people, and I might as well try and put it to some other use?
Combination of the two. So, really, having had all that trauma in my own life and walking with other people through theirs, obviously, I've interviewed a couple hundred people. I'm pretty versed at it at this point. There is a lot of life that happens in life. And I think we just largely aren't equipped to deal with things, and learning better coping mechanisms and processing skills, but also understanding the neurobiology behind things, like how your nervous system operates and what you can do to bring it back into a calm state is good information for everyone to have. So having had all these interviews and all of these amazing stories, and time again, this method worked, that method worked, this thing worked for this person, that thing worked for that person. Healing is not linear. It's not a one size fits all. So to just be able to present the information as a whole, I think is a better service to people. I'm really trying to help people figure out their stuff.
Well, and not everyone. I mean, even just taking like the idea of not everyone sits and listens to podcasts. Some people like to sit down; they prefer to read a book or listen to a book. Like we all take the information in differently. Some people learn kind of in a classroom setting. Some people learn better kind of by osmosis, just being around stuff. So certainly giving them the option, to do that. I'm curious. Is there obviously some type of profit motive in repackaging, stuff and trying to push that, or are we completely altruistic in this world?
Well, I mean, yeah, it would be nice if I could retire from something sometime eventually, but that's probably not a realistic goal. Really, this honestly is from my heart. It's an act of service. But that being said, like the inspiration for the book came from the content from the show, but it's not recycled content either. I was able to go find studies and look at the different clinical trials and things of to see if they worked and what the record was.
So it's more of a jumping off point, right?
Yeah, I really feel it's like it's accessible for both the layperson and someone who's well versed in helping people handle their trauma.
Right on. So one of the questions I like to ask is, what are the, let's say maybe like the top three things that you've gotten out of your journey podcasting? Is financial wealth? Is it relationships? Because I think people learn, people get different things out of podcasting that maybe they didn't expect to when they went into it.
I think one of the things I really appreciate is that it's expanded my worldview because I'm able to speak with people worldwide. And so struggles vary from culture to culture. It's really a good opportunity to get a more broad perspective. I've really enjoyed that part. And there's been financial gain, albeit it's not, paying the mortgage, but it's better than nothing. And I really, really enjoy the one on one conversations. I like to think of a lot of my guests as single serving friends. If we harken back to Fight Club. But I get this one opportunity with them. I don't want to talk about the weather. I want to talk about what moved them in their life and what's been amazing for them and what things have they struggled through and overcome.
I've never personally been a big fan of the idea of small talk. So, like, if I'm going to talk to anybody, it's like, hey, let's talk about cool stuff. And, like, let's talk about, like, what's going to change the world. Or what's, in this case, what has changed your world to these people. Um, More pointed to the question, like, what has been different than you expected it to be? After how long have you actually been doing the podcast? It's been 2-3 years now.
Going into season 3, so on my 3rd year. Um, Prior to that, I did have a 2-year run with a podcast in 2014. So I've had a little bit of experience with it over time. But what it what it what has surprised me, was that the question?
Well, it's like everyone has the expectations of what they're going to get out of the podcast, and then are almost always kind of, oh, that's not really what this podcast is giving me, despite what I thought it was going to be. Or even like how the podcast turns out to be different than you thought it would be. Like, is this exactly how you envisioned it when you ran with it? Or did it kind of take on a life of its own?
Definitely took on a life of its own. I interviewed, I think my first probably handful of interviews, I didn't even know what I was doing yet. I was just like, "Hey, do y'all wanna show up and have a conversation with me recorded? Let's see how this goes." And that's after I interviewed my friend, now friend, James. His story moved me so much that I was like, "That's it. That's what I wanna do. I wanna help people figure out how to overcome stuff." And so with that as inspiration, I broke it out on purpose so that it was a win-win-win for me, for my audience, and for my guests.
Are there types of stories? Because I imagine you come across more than like one different type of story that moves you. Is there a type that you prefer better than others, or you just kind of take them all as what they are?
Well, I mean, getting your name out there and getting guests, after a while, sometimes you really will take just whatever comes your way. Um, so I've interviewed all kinds of people with all kinds of stories for sure. But one thing I really appreciate about being so open like that is that I'm not putting a filter on it. Whatever comes through. And I really feel like the right people are going to get the right message at the right time. So there's never a bad episode. Maybe some are better than others, but I really do enjoy all the conversations.
And to add some broader perspective on this, you said you're going into your season 3, 3 years. How many guests have you actually had on the show so far?
Maybe 130 or so.
It's a lot of conversations to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't feel like many people talk to that many people in like the course of a 3 years normally. Like, you got your 5 to 10 people you'll see at work, and then a couple family members, and that's all you ever talk to. But for you, you have a situation where you talk to that plus 150 other people.
Yes, but what's really awesome about it is the way that my brain is developed neurologically. I get a hit of dopamine because it's a new and novel experience each and every time, and it keeps me coming back.
Have you had any guests on that like just really intimidated you, or have they all been kind of just just a conversation?
I mean, you sure can let someone's education or stature intimidate you, but at the end of the day, they put all their pants on the same way I do. So I'm not really intimidated in that sense. I have had some conversations that I was like, "Wow, that was so bad. I'm not even going to publish it." So I think probably the opposite end of this spectrum. Yeah.
I don't know. Not to say that I'm a person who gets starstruck easily, but even for me, there's people like, oh my God, that would be so cool if I got to talk to so and so. It's like, I'm imagining you're not going to be just like, oh, hey, here I am with the Dalai Lama. And you just be blase about it.
Try to play it cool, but really like I'm freaking out.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've had those conversations where, like, how did I manage to pull this person into a conversation with me? I have no business talking with them.
But you do because you're there. Own it. It's good.
Well, no, and that's just when I deal with my clients and stuff, and we're talking about getting on podcasts, and I will always tell them punch above your weight. You know, if you can send the appropriate email to pretty much anybody, you'd be surprised the conversations you can land because you never know when someone is going to have like a day where somebody doesn't show up and they need something fast, and you might be the guy that just happened to have the best presentation for like backup. I'm not saying you're going to get on Joe Rogan, but you will be surprised at like the people that you can pull that you'd be able to get on shows, and kind of vice versa too. Like I'm always kind of astounded at people that like I've managed to have conversations with. Like, you really probably have better things to do than talk to me, but thank you for showing up here. Like even when I restarted the repackaged this Iron Age marketing from back when I used to talk to specifically authors to now, there's definitely been like, you run a very large business, why are you talking to me? Don't you have better things to do? Do I have stock in your company? Is this how it works?
I mean, I have interviewed doctors and uh, lawyers and paraplegics and people that have been set on fire and all kinds of stuff. I'm not intimidated by any of it, but I think it's awesome that they can get their stories out. What these people have overcome amazes me all of the time. That's amazing.
How do you have the have your guests given you any kind of feedback on their experience with the show? So I know I have at least one mutual friend with you that I managed to get on your podcast, and she just raved about how great it was when she was on it. So I'm kind of curious if it's more of the same from everybody.
Yeah, I have a service that I go through to connect with guests, and my ratings on there are phenomenal. Everybody that shows up really appreciates just having an honest and real conversation. Really just engaged in the moment. And people love to talk about themselves. It's really not a hard sell.
I've had that conversation with another client this week. So
Yes.
now I'll kind of look at this moving forward. Going into 3 years, you're not new at this. Like you're established. 150 guests is one hell of an accomplishment. Like they say, if you can hit seven episodes, like you can probably do this for a while. So when you start hitting those 150 numbers, and I've hit them on like one of my old podcasts. Like I know like it's no small accomplishment to just keep the thing rolling that long. But what do you look forward to in the future? And what like expectations do you have for it to bring to you from here on out? You want to grow it, continue to scale, build it bigger?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I really feel like I've got the skill set now. I'm confident. My processes are ironclad, like I'm good at this now, and I think I'm finally at the point where I feel like it's good enough to scale. So, that's the next step.
What are your plans to make that happen, and how do you kind of plan on unrolling that?
Well, I haven't given it too much thought yet because I just published my book today. So that is next on the list, and I'm making efforts to get there. And I've got all these people in my inbox who want to help me with my stuff, but I don't know about all that either.
Oh, you come to me first, anyways.
Here we go. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
I don't bother sending the emails because you know how many of those emails I get, and I'm like, I actually do this professionally, so
Just so
I
annoying.
don't need your terrible.
I'm aware I don't rank that high. Thank you for pointing that out. But the feedback that I get from the people that do find it, they're really happy. So it's grown organically, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, and it's like I know the kind of tools that they're going to use to force the fake growth that I'm going to get for the time that I use their service, and it's not worth it. It just isn't. I always love because half the time they're written, and I can tell the guys from like Thailand or something like that barely speaks English, and like, sure, but I mean, I'm sure you're cheap, but like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna do much for me.
You get what you pay for, you know.
Yeah. So, well, all right. Would you, I guess, tell people where they can go? Is Do you have an email sign up for the book that's already set up and ready to go?
No, but you can go to walkwithmeconversations.com, and that's how you can connect with me.
Ugh. See, this is what we need to have the conversations about.
See? I need
It's
help.
always the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
How many different URLs do you own?
I like 80. I don't know, a lot.
80, and you don't even have the one for the book yet.
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Stephanie. I hope my guests or my audience picked up something from it. I think it's easy to pick up anything from anybody we talk to because yeah, for me being sales and marketing, the messenger is so important. And even if I have guests talking about the same thing kind of repetitively, number one, if it gets talked about that much, it's probably important. You should pay attention to it. And messenger is everything when it comes to marketing. The right voice, the right time is what actually gets people to do and learn. So I appreciate you being another one of those voices.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.